Friends, good morning. Education is the key for making human minds. Education is also the tool of creating good citizens. But the way regulators treat education as a place for playing their egos, it sometimes makes everybody think whether education can really be allowed to be handled by those who treat education as a business or as a tool of making money, power, etc. Some time back, when there used to be the scales like lecturer, senior lecturer, reader, etc., people looked for growth step by step. Then suddenly one day one wise person got a brainwave and they merged everything into three scales: assistant professor, associate professor, and professor. Anyone, school, college, university, all were made professors. Now, once again, the rules are being tampered with. Earlier, PhD was made mandatory for becoming professor. Consequently, the country had large number of fake institutions and fake degree providers who facilitated printing of PhD degrees and helped those who are wanting to rise to higher ladders in education through these degrees. At that time also we recall the experience was given value. People coming from industry and professional organizations with experience usable in education were given the due place and were appointed to senior positions. But today the regulator, who till yesterday was making PhD as a sacrosanct or a key driver of education greatness, has made a statement: PhD is not mandatory. What does it mean? Professionals with experience were earlier also allowed. But by using the statement PhD not mandatory, a room has been opened now for making PhD redundant in education. It is true, as we have said earlier also, PhD does not make a good teacher, but PhD teaches how to do research, how to enhance knowledge, how to make presentations of that knowledge for everybody's benefit. PhD helped in creating mindsets where the person learned to do research and contribute to the growth of society and education. Of course, it never made a good teacher. A teacher was a teacher. An ordinary graduate or even a non-graduate could be a very good teacher, because teaching is something else than just a degree or a word. Since knowledge is the key to all these fields, knowledge is the key for performing in the life, and the only tool of certifying knowledge was a certificate, a degree, various UG, PG, PhD and higher degrees were created. These only showed that a person has achieved a level of knowledge acquisition, a proficiency in doing research and making presentations. By announcing PhD is not mandatory, probably regulators do not realize that these statements dilute their own thinking, their own standards, their own earlier statements that PhD is mandatory or is needed or has some value by which a person can be recognized as a professor or something of that equivalent. Point we are raising is, it is true that many ministers and leaders do not have even higher degrees, leave aside the PhDs, and they lead the country very well. The earlier days, the kings and queens probably never went to the great institutions or acquired any higher degrees and certificates, but they all ruled well. Even in recent times, kings like Akbar and renowned figures in politics like Phulan Devi, who was a dacoit and became MP and presented herself as the leader of the people, or a dacoit Maharaja Mansingh, who was not probably a degree holder or a PhD holder, but ruled the area with great reverence. This shows that the people need different type of skills to acquire certain strengths and capabilities. Therefore, the question now is there any correlation between a degree, knowledge, and skills? Second question is, do the degrees like PhD, DSc, DLET, LLD, etc., or even MSc, MTech, MA, have any value if only the capability to lead and perform are necessary? Therefore, the time has come to think and evaluate importance of education, importance of degrees associated with certain levels of education, with capabilities to perform, to have knowledge, and to sustain activities in the real life. What we are requesting now is New Education Policy 2020 is great because it opens interdisciplinary education, interdisciplinary research, and respect for education and knowledge. But probably more is needed for certification and other things which add value to education. For example, some institutions and organizations in the government made not giving examination necessary for reaching up to certain level. Corona presented another situation in which the examinations of different types, certifications of different type, and awards of different type were used to pass and promote. Time now has come in the post-corona period. How those practices which had been used in corona and pre-corona periods will be used for creating a stable quality education system. If we see the way education today is, it has become a business. Persons in authority send their children to public schools, etc., thinking that will add great value to their certification. But if you go back into the history, it is not the institution alone, it is the person and institution and methodology. All three were essential for making a person capable and great. Chanakya, one of the greatest teachers and philosophers, developed many kings of the global stature, world stature, and developed them into capable leaders. Those were not done in the university like Nalanda, though he himself had been to the Takshila, Nalanda, and all those great institutions, at least in India. But these leaders were not made there. They were made by a person called a guru. Therefore, the time has come to recognize whether it is the teacher important or it is the degree important. It is the regulator who is important or the institution and teacher are important. Time now is to review once again NEP 2020 in 2022, make it realistic and more people oriented, life oriented, survival oriented. God bless all. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.